finally, let's talk about immigration. This is where we're starting to go into the Third Reich, or the Fourth Reich, I guess I should say. Like, straight up, scary shit right here. So there were a number of executive orders that he issued regarding immigration. One of them was basically about protecting the United States from foreign terrorists and other national security, public safety threats. Now, this goes back to the line that he keeps saying over and over again, where basically there are international terrorists that are coming across our southern border, and there's never been any evidence of that happening to any type of wide degree. This basically makes it more difficult for people to achieve visas. There's going to be more restrictions from people from certain countries. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a more thorough vetting process during the issuing of visas.
Yeah, and one of the things that he explicitly called out as criteria for, like, declining to allow people into this country. So there's a list, right? The United States to protect its citizens from aliens who, quote, intend to commit terrorist acts. Okay, give it to you. Yeah. Threaten our national security. Perfect. Wonderful. Keep us safe, whatever. Espouse hateful ideology or otherwise exploit immigration laws for malevolent purposes. Literally, like, viewpoint discrimination in our immigration system.
Yeah, and he's actually directly said he's going to prevent Marxists and socialists from being able to be immigrants. Now, you know, some people might hear that and be like, "Well, yeah, but that's far right. That's far left extremists." This motherfucker was calling Kamala Harris a Marxist.
Yeah.
Like, when
center left
that,
extremists.
When he says that, he is basically saying anybody that is not a MAGA Republican.
Yeah.
That's what he means when he says that. All right. Make no mistake. This is not about trying to prevent us from terrorists, protect us from terrorists. It is about trying to restrict people with an ideology that he doesn't like from coming into our country, and not people with extreme ideologies necessarily. Yep. You know, people with just like left of center ideologies.
Yeah, not even necessarily ideologies that he doesn't like. Skin colors too, for sure.
That too. Absolutely.
Yeah, because so another executive order he rolled out suspends the U.S. refugee admissions program, which is again cruelty on its face, because his opinion is that admitting refugees would be detrimental to U.S. interests. And so basically, like, saying that he only wants to admit refugees that will fully and appropriately assimilate in order to take the tax burden off of citizens. Again, we've talked about this before. Migrants and immigrants provide support for our tax base. Yeah. Like, it is not the case that they are a drain on our citizens' taxes.
And they're also more likely to be entrepreneurs, which means they're more likely to create jobs,
literally
not
making
take jobs. And also, I want to point something out. All right. A lot of these orders target specifically making the legal process more difficult. Now, this completely goes against the claim that he kept making, which is like, oh no, it's the illegals. We're just going after the illegals. All right. For people that do it the right way, we're not going to go after them. Okay, but you're making the right way impossible. Exactly. And you know what happens when you make the right way impossible? More people do it the wrong way.
Yes, exactly.
That's what fucking happens. Yeah. So and we've seen this historically. We've talked about this on the pod. When you have reduction, or rather increases of border security, that has been historically linked to actually higher numbers of people who are undocumented being here in the country. And if you make it more difficult for people to come in legally in the first place, what incentive do they have to try to come in here legally, especially if they're refugees? I mean, think about it. Say you're in a country that is war-torn, and you got to get out of there. You got to get your family out of there, all right? You know, so you try to come to the United States. Now, and then you're told, well, so here's the thing about our refugee resettlement program. We don't have one. Yeah. You're just going to be like, okay, well then fuck you. I'm just going to come in and, you know, because I need to be somewhere that is not that war-torn place. I need to be somewhere else for a better life for my family.
Yep.
All right. This increases the number of undocumented people in the country. And here's the other thing that's really important. This is all under the guise of trying to protect us from, potentially dangerous criminals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Potentially dangerous criminals. Now, putting aside the fact, and we shouldn't put this fact aside, but we're going to put it aside, putting aside the fact that studies actually show that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than natural-born citizens, all right? Putting aside that fact, what fucking sense does it make to allocate your resources, your immigration enforcement resources, to the vast, wide amount of people that are here undocumented, regardless of what reason they might have come here, and not to try to focus on the people that might actually have malicious intents? All right. If you are spending so much resources to try to go after various different families that are just here trying to seek a better life, those are resources that you could be spending focused on the actual gangs, actual gangs that you claim are making us less safe.
Mm-hmm.
If you made it so that the immigration process was a lot easier, that it actually made sense, if you gave people a pathway to citizenship, then the people who actually who do not mean us harm will take that path and will know who they are.
And you no longer have to worry about them.
Which means that the people left over, the people that are not here legally, they're more likely to actually be the types of people that might actually be meaning us harm, which means you can focus on them.
Yeah.
All right? Which would actually keep us safe.
Yep.
But instead, you are doing this uniform enforcement against every immigrant, not just people that would try to come here illegally, but people that would go through the legal process. Mm-hmm. And in the process, you are incentivizing the illegal approach to entering the country. Yeah. And you are straining resources that could be used on actual nefarious actors.
Yeah, totally. The last point I want to make about pausing the refugee program and the changes that he's made, he's also ended the Biden-era program that was allowing migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela on humanitarian grounds, because all of those countries are going through crises at this point, right? And not only did he end these migrant programs, but also revoked temporary protected status. So, for example, nearly 350,000 Venezuelan migrants who fled their country and were here under temporary protected status are having that status taken away. So one Venezuelan activist, Beatriz Olivaria, said that for some, quote, returning would be suicidal. Yeah. And that for many, being sent back to the country would send them straight to prison for political activism. Like, we're talking about forcing people back into countries that are truly unsafe. Repatriation for refugees is like a threat to their well-being and their lives. On top of that, in another swing of cruelty, he attempted to end birthright fucking citizenship. Now, if you wanted to support illegal immigration, what possible reason would you have for ending birthright citizenship, a legal path to become to immigrate?
Yeah. And this is blatantly unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Blatantly on its face unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. The 14th Amendment states, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny.
Open,
they literally,
shut.
in the executive order, they're like, yeah, but the 14th Amendment never meant to make birthright citizenship a thing. It just, because, basically people that are, people whose mother is here unlawfully or father is not a citizen or permanent resident or whose mother is present in the United States as temporary or whatever, they're not, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And it's they're not? So they're just these extrajudicial beings that outside of the
citizens
reach.
Were right.
Exactly. Outside of the reach of the United States. This is so fucking absurd that they're Yeah. They can pay taxes. They're subject to our laws. They can be sued. They can get a fucking traffic ticket. They can contribute to Social Security, but they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. The last one that I want to talk about is the executive order regarding protecting American people against invasion, which basically gives the DHS new immigration enforcement powers and ICE new immigration enforcement powers to basically go in to places that previously were kind of thought of as like, this is safe. Like this, you cannot do this.
Yeah. You can't like pick
without
them up from like churches and schools and things like that.
Yeah. Basically they're saying, fuck it. And that also, like the whole school thing, that also is likely illegal. Federal agents actually attempted to enter a school in, I believe it was Chicago, and they were just turned away because it's like, no, you're not allowed in here. You're not allowed in here. This is a school day, and here that's the other thing. You can't say that the reason why you are carrying out this immigration enforcement is not because you're a racist bastard. It's because these are just criminals. You can't say that and then send federal agents into a school.
Yeah,
you just can't do that.
Sure.
All right, you cannot make that claim.
Yeah.
On top of that, this has led to various instances of American citizens being detained. There was a report, and this was reported by an anonymous family member of the people that this happened to. According to the LA Times, there was a Puerto Rican family. Now, keep in mind, Puerto Rico is America.
Yeah.
All right? These are American citizens. A Puerto Rican family was detained by ICE agents in Milwaukee for speaking Spanish. They spoke Spanish in a fucking grocery store.
Yeah.
And they were detained by ICE. And then when they were finally able to prove that they were born, that they were in the United States, they just said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And they were basically left stranded and had to figure out their own transportation home.
Yeah.
For speaking Spanish, a child was involved in that. All right. There was a child that was detained.
I don't think we can actually overstate the risk of that continuing to happen, because there's a couple things involved here, right? Like, so first off, obviously that sucks and is terrible. But also these executive orders have authorized the Secretary of Homeland Security to deputize state and local law enforcement officials to perform the functions of immigration officers in investigating, apprehending, and detaining aliens in the United States, right? So we've got local people without like immigration training necessarily, to the degree that even ICE has immigration-related training, being deputized to take these actions. And then you have an expansion of expedited removal, which is our process to deport people without a court hearing, thus violating any due process in the process. And now typically expedited removals are limited to within 100 miles of the U.S. international borders, and they're applied to those who didn't request asylum and failed to show a case for asylum. But Trump's changes, he's expanded it so that removals can now occur anywhere in the United States and apply to anyone who can't prove that they have been in this country for more than 2 years. So basically, you've got a recipe for disaster where local police and state officials can be rounding up like Spanish-speaking U.S. citizens, or like U.S. citizens speaking other languages, and putting them through expedited removal proceedings if they don't happen to have their fucking passport on them. Yeah. Like, this is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. There's been a series of ICE raids in New Jersey. One of them actually picked up a U.S. veteran who was a citizen, who was detained, and basically his military record was questioned. They didn't believe him at first. And again, they're claiming that this is about the apprehension of like MS-13 gang members. But they're straight up picking up citizens, and they're even admitting that that is a possibility. All right. An ICE spokesperson told Newsweek in a statement, quote, U.S. immigration and customs enforcement may encounter U.S. citizens while conducting field work and may request identification to establish an individual's identity, as was the case during a targeted enforcement operation at a work site today in Newark, New Jersey. This is an active investigation, and per ICE policy, we cannot discuss the ongoing investigations. So basically what they're saying is, papers, please, welcome to Nazi Germany.
Yep.
All right.
Seriously.
And maybe we'll pick up some U.S. citizens in the meantime. You know, whatever. That's just the price. That's just the price of this. All right.
Yeah, it's just the price of
this,
being racist.
All right. You fucking better have those papers on you, because if we suspect you of being an undocumented immigrant, we're gonna arrest your ass. And in this case, they arrested a U.S. citizen who was a military veteran. Again, like, this is, it is not an unfair comparison to say this is Nazi Germany. All right, let me see your papers, please. That is Nazi Germany shit. You know, and look, I'm not violating the Goldwater Rule. The guy that created the Goldwater Rule actually said that comparisons to Hitler are appropriate for Trump. He actually said that. The guy that created that rule.
Wait, what's the Goldwater Rule?
The Goldwater Rule is basically, as soon as you start making comparisons to Hitler, you've lost the argument. Like, you've lost the, you've lost all, and that's been just a general rule where it's like, yeah, like, this person might suck, but they're not Hitler, and you're ridiculous for saying that. He actually came out and straight up said, actually, yeah, no, this is apt. This works. This is yeah.
The Goldwater Rule is so hopeful that, like, no one like Hitler will ever come around again.
I guess so. It's
yeah, and there's a lot more going on here. Like, there's plenty more we could talk about. We will see a lot more impacts of this. Unfortunately, this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the negative impacts of this on our immigration, on our immigrant population, and on our U.S. citizen population.